Hi, this is Robin,
And this is Beth.
and we did our project on online education.
And we chose to do online education really after we saw the College Inc. PBS Frontline program. We thought it was really interesting how they went over, kind of the background history of online education and the stigma that surrounds online education. And we just felt that it's really something that isn't going away. It's pretty prevalent now in today's world, and a lot of students are choosing to do online education over a traditional format.
So this is the outline for our presentation. We're first going to go over the history, the definition and terminology, and the errors of online education, followed by the present status and talking about accreditation, state universities, and popular online schools, and finishing up with future trends, the type of people earning online degrees, the popularity, and its relationship to traditional education.
So to start off with the distance learning, which is basically online education, according to the NCA Higher Learning Commission, distance learning is really the formal educational process in which the majority of the instruction occurs when student and instructor are not in the same place. So we understand distance learning now. How we see it is really just a new concept. The IPEDS, or Integrated Post-Secondary Education Data System, didn't collect data on distance learning until 2012. Um, it's still being a relatively new concept. A lot of people are kind of getting used to the idea, and also with terminology, it's called e-learning. And online education is also inclusive of many different formats. It's not just online, but it can include some of the things that we'll talk about on the next slide in relevance to history, and the following next slides. I'm sorry.
So some important terminology to become familiar with when considering online education is the massive online, open online courses. This essentially is the idea of having huge open access via the web to offer online virtual classrooms in which students can respond to questions freely. Then there's also the hybrid and blended learning, which is our class that we're in currently, where it incorporates both in-class and online to provide education for the program. And then there's also portal learning, which is a term used to describe the overall website that student uses to access course information, assignments, reading. Like at ASU, we use Blackboard, but there's also other different portals that universities across the country use.
So now that we've gone over some of the basic terminology and essentially what online education is, we'll go ahead and start talking about where it all got started.
The history of online education has been divided into these eras that best describe the major breaks in the development of online education. Because distance learning is defined as the learning where the student and instructor are not in the same place, we see the signs of the types of learning began in 1728 when the world's first distance course was established. And in 1840, there was shorthand taught by correspondents in Great Britain, and they were like mailed across the country. And then in 1922 was the radio, known as the radio era, where Penn State offered courses through the radio. By 1925, there was over 200 colleges granting radio broadcast licenses. And in 1965, University of Wisconsin offered its first telephone-based educational program.
So to continue on with the history, distance learning education continued. We have the television era, where in 1968, Stanford offers part-time instruction for engineering students. And then 1969, the U.S. Department of Defense creates the internet, which was, of course, a very big contribution to how we know online and distance learning today. And now we come to a little bit more recent era, the online era, where the University of Phoenix was actually founded in 1976, which is a very popular online based school. In 1982, CALC, Computer Assisted Learning Center, was established. In 1992, the Electronic University Network offers its first PhD program via Online America. And by 1994, there was the first completely online curriculum being introduced.
So present day, modern era, the 1995 Western Governors University is founded. It was actually founded by 19 U.S. governors. In 1987, CVU offers 1,000 plus online courses. In 1999, new educational tools were created such as Blackboard and eCollege. 2002, MIT offers the OpenCourseWare. 2003, 81% of college students are at least taking one online class. And then 2007 was the first MOOC was created. By 2009, there were 5.5 million students taking at least one online course. And then in 2014, 98% of public colleges and universities offer online programs.
So now to talk a little bit about accreditation. Accreditation is defined as the how the independent review, it provides independent review of education programs for the purpose of determining if that education is of uniform and sound quality. Regional accreditation is actually the most widely recognized accreditation that institutions shoot for. So a majority of the programs, depending on what a student is looking for, whether that be like a teaching certification or even something like a nursing certification, having one that's regionally accredited is seen as more highly valued than one that would be nationally accredited. For several online schools, some of them actually have what's called state approved accreditation. A state approval process, it's really just what some schools make their programs go through, but it's not the same as holding an actual institutional accreditation, which is something that's really important to note if you're kind of like a student considering taking your degree online. Sometimes what that state approval really means is that the school can do business within that state, and it has little to actually do with the program or the curriculum. So an important thing to kind of cross-check when you're looking at the accreditations for different schools is double-checking with the Distance Education Accreditation Commission, which is really an in-depth review of online accreditation programs and checking to see how those are in relation to either regional or national accreditations, depending on the program you're looking to pursue.
So online education and job readiness. While we were watching the College Inc., they said that 83% of CEOs and small business owners agree online education to be just as credible as traditional degrees. They're not really concerned about how you earn your degree, but rather the school reputation and the integrity of the program. And then a recent study revealed online education is as good or better than traditional online campus. Students that receive degrees online are more disciplined, they're personally motivated, and perseverance.
So to talk a little bit about some popular online schools that we often hear about, of course, the for-profit, you can kind of divide them into two different kind of categories. There's the for-profit side and then the public side. So University of Phoenix on the for-profit side of education, obviously a very big name. They've made a very big name for themselves in online education, kind of as being the pioneers in that, along with Ashford, DeVry, and Kaplan, which kind of took on that for-profit side of education. They often promote their programs as being career-oriented and very focused, and also provide a huge variety in how they offer their programs, whether that be, how you log in and the flexibility, and also the offering of programs as well. Like I know University of Phoenix quite often starts a program for the same program at least once a month. And then on the public side of education, online schools, we have Penn State and of course ASU. There's also Indiana University and University of Texas. And just kind of as, education continues, and particularly online education, we see that a lot of public schools, four-year state schools, are starting to implement their own sort of online education systems and modalities kind of in their own way.
Okay, so nearly all public state schools offer online programs. For example, ASU has over 100 degree programs offered online. They include bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, doctorate degrees, and also certificate programs. State schools offer lower tuition costs than the private for-profit universities, which are more 2 to 3 times more expensive as in-state tuition or public school tuition. They offer the same instructors as the campus classes, so it gives them the feeling that they are getting the same education they would get on campus. And online students actually prefer colleges that have a physical campus, so even though they're not on the campus, they like to know that there is a campus community and they feel more personally involved in the education system than versus just an online school.
So some of the current trends that we're starting to see for online education is obviously that it continues to grow. So more than 6.1 million, which is about 1 in 4 students, took at least one online class during fall 2012. Conditionally active students. This is something that's relatively new too. It's not something that we find in traditional schools, but kind of what sort of this trend is that students will start taking a class, and it's kind of like a try it before you buy it period. So you're able to take the course, kind of participate in assignments and actually turn them in for a certain period of time, and that can range anywhere from really like the first week to the end of your first term. And at the end of that term, if you decide as a student that you aren't interested in it, that it wasn't really for you, it gives you the option to kind of erase those credits and then not really continue on with the program as if you never really had started school. So this conditionally active status is something that's relatively new that a lot of the for-profit institutions are taking on, that I believe a lot of the state schools will also kind of interpret, since online education and traditional education are so different in how a student approaches them. It's something that they've seen has been really positive for an online student to be able to try out the interface, the type of assignments that are due depending on the online program for themselves. And from the NASPA, UPCEA, and Inside Track report, they see that there's a focus on 3 areas: mission, student centricity, and leverage. They also feel that a good online experience actually benefits all students. So it's not just focused on what the online student is benefiting from it, but what they can contribute to the overall student population in general.
So the National Center for Educational Statistics in 2014 released a report that went over the data that they found from 2012. And what they found was that Arizona had the highest percentage of students enrolled exclusively in online programs, which was 48%. And then that was followed by West Virginia and Iowa. And this isn't very surprising, since University of Phoenix and Arizona State University are among the larger universities that have online programs, especially University of Phoenix. And also West Virginia is home of the American University, public university system, and then Kaplan is in Iowa. So it wasn't that surprising that they had that. Also, graduate students are more likely to study exclusively online versus undergraduate students. Of the 2.9 million graduate students in the U.S., 22% of them studied exclusively online, and then among undergraduates, only 11% pursued exclusively online degrees. Of students enrolled exclusively in online degrees, 51%, or slightly more than half, reported to be in the same state as their education, as their institution. And 35% of online students attend for-profit universities, which was very eye-opening, because people think when you talk about online education, most people equate the distance education online programs to for-profit universities, and they don't even make up a large percentage of the students attending online schools anymore. And historically, black colleges and tribal colleges only make up 3.8 and 2.6 of online education. So the report also goes into online learners by region, and the Plains region had the highest number of students studying exclusively online, followed by the Southwest, which, as you can see going down, that New England, Far West, and Midwest were only at 7%. You can see a major difference around the country based on location. So the plains, the real strength across the plains is because they're so dispersed in the population. So offering online education is really the only way that a lot of them would be able to attend college. And then the Southwest, again, because University of Phoenix and Arizona State University makes them a higher number of online education students. Future trends. So within the next 5 years' time, 90% of academic leaders believe that all college students will be taking at least one online course, and there'll also be more courses being offered. So currently, there are more than 1,200 programs offered online, which is 20% more than there were in 2014. And there's also going to be an expansion of hybrid classes like our class, where online education is part of the course, which this brings opportunities for people. Online education brings opportunities for individuals who wouldn't be able to attend class on campus, such as full-time working individuals, individuals with families, or individuals working with children, and then people in rural areas. And all of these are just our references that we use for our presentation, and we hope that you enjoy learning more about online education.
Thank you.